Would you love to go to bed with a calm mind instead of a whirlwind of thoughts? That's what we're covering today, and so glad you're here. If you search online for how to turn off my brain so I can sleep, you'll get these kinds of suggestions. Read a book, take a hot bath, limit screen time at night, try deep breathing and muscle relaxation, make sure your room is cool, dark, and quiet, limit caffeine and sugar, get good exercise early in the day, and set a consistent sleep schedule. Those are all great ideas. You'll also hear, write down all your thoughts, to-do lists, and worries. And this is the one we're going to dive into today. Because while it does help to write these things down, it's really common for our brains to say, I have so much to do tomorrow, I'm not going to have the time or energy or feel a lot of stress. And so today I want to show you how you can actually calm your brain by putting things into a system. To make this incredibly practical, I actually went into our community and asked, what kinds of things keep you up at night? And they gave me such a great list. So I'm going to go through their specific examples and show you how you can essentially give your thoughts and worries and things like that a parking spot, kind of like a VIP parking spot. So then you can really calm your brain and just sleep. I want you to imagine that your regular list at the side of your bed is like a really huge parking lot, okay? We're essentially going to create sublots with distinct purposes so that it's not just a big clump of stuff. They're actually segmented so they make sense to you, and that enables your brain to really relax. It's kind of like a parking lot party we're going to have, so we'll jump in and I'll show you how fun it can be. I found that the thoughts that were keeping people awake fell into three major categories. The first one is emails, calls, or tasks that they need to do. The second category was processing major life changes. And the third was distorted thinking patterns about the next day. Let's start with the emails, tasks, and calls that need to be done. I just want to share their own words because I think it's really going to resonate with you, so I will dive in. I have list writing in my head of the done and not done lists from work and home life. Another one says, I worry if I've forgotten to write something down that needs to be done and it's going to hit me in the face later and need to be done right then, or having needed to be done already and I'm late on it. Another has a few questions like, do I need to pick up that grandchild? Is my dental cleaning this week? Did I remember to get that sprinkler to turn on again Thursday? This one is from a caregiver who's helping their mother from 3,000 miles away. She says, if my mind starts to wonder of thoughts of mom, suddenly I'm running through lists in my head of things to be done. Were they done? Did I remember to review and order her medications? What appointments are coming up? Do I have a substitute aide tomorrow that doesn't know the routine? Do I need to update the brothers on anything? My goal is to trust the system and these thoughts will quiet down. So I'm glad she knew that. Next one says, I worry if I've forgotten something on the schedule or forgotten to coordinate something between my mom, husband, and nanny for my children. Then this one says, how will I learn to get organized while I still have so many things to do? Get taxes done, schedule clients, collect payments, take down the pool, wash towels, feed the dogs. Or another person is asking in her head, which transition effect should I use for that presentation I'm working on? And would a new plant stand work better than the one we have? And finally, this one says, I worry I'll forget to bring stuff I need for the next day. Lunch, paper signed for a child, paperwork for the license office, library book to return, etc. Now, as I was reading through these, I could feel the stress and the overwhelm, and I'm hopeful that you could relate to maybe some of the thoughts you've been having that have been keeping you up. So I'm going to share exactly what we would do to create a structure, this VIP parking, so that those thoughts don't need to keep you awake because they're all important, but they don't need to be rattling around your head while you're trying to sleep. These are typically date-specific, week-specific, related to a project, or related to a routine. And chances are, if these kinds of things are going through your mind while you're trying to go to sleep, this probably isn't the first time you've thought of them. It's just that you haven't put them into a system or into that VIP parking spot early enough. So that's what I want to teach you. As we get ahead of it, then we don't even have to worry in the middle of the night because those thoughts just literally aren't there anymore and your minds are calm. Let's talk about those things that are date specific. Hopefully you have a calendar in place, and an optimal calendar has two parts. First, you have appointments. That's where you would put something like your dental cleaning. It's on the calendar as an appointment. You look at your calendar every day so you won't forget about it and you don't need to think about it. An optimal calendar also has a section for flexible tasks that have to be done that day. So hopefully there's just a few, or as you get out of backlog, you'll only have a few. But something like call to check and see if I need to pick up my grandchild, that would just go on a date-specific task list. And I just keep that super, super short so it doesn't feel like I have a ton of things to do every day. For those items that are week-specific but flexible, that's where we use our context-based next actions list. This is a weekly list that's organized by where you are when you're getting things done. So one of the contexts is to discuss one's phone calls, computer, errands, and home. So let's say you need to update your brothers on your mom's condition. Okay, that could be a phone call, maybe a text. Maybe it takes a few minutes to pull it all together, so it's not just a 2-minute task. But that could go on your phone category, update brothers. Another task that had been mentioned was take the pool down. Okay, great. That probably doesn't have to be done Monday at a certain time, but maybe it needs to be done sometime this week. So in the home category, you could just write take the pool down, and there you go. 2 projects that were mentioned by our community members was deciding on a transition for a presentation being made at work, and then another one was getting taxes done. Okay, so that presentation, those taxes, hopefully those would be on your current projects list. Current projects are things that you're working on this month that most likely can be checked off by the end of the month, and the projects are organized by me, my family, and beyond meeting paid or volunteer work. So for get taxes, I could put that under my for my family category, and the presentation for work just goes under the beyond category. That way, when you have routines set up on a daily basis to work on your projects, you know that those are your core projects for the month. You have them boiled down into next actions, all organized. So when you sit down to work on those, you can make those decisions and move forward. But you don't have to worry about all the next steps of those projects while you're trying to sleep. Now let's look at our routines list. Routines are things that we're doing daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. And the more solid our routines list, the less stress we feel around the day-to-day activities. So a lot of the things that people were mentioning that they're worried about are actually routines, and I'll just share a few. Things like reviewing and ordering medications, setting the sprinklers, scheduling clients, collecting payments, laundry, feeding the dogs, even remembering what to take with you in the morning and how to make sure library books get returned and things like that. So one of the things that I do recommend is that you have a really solid morning routine and evening routine. Now, sometimes people say, I hate routines, you don't need them, you want to be able to start your day however you want, and that's fine if it's working for you. But especially if you're caring for children or other people in your family and you have a lot of details that depend on you, having great routines is just going to give you a little lift. I put together a little sample list of a morning and evening routine based on the needs of our community members, so I will just share this with you now. Let's start with the evening routine because it's great to just get ready the night before. Clear counters, do the dishes, close up the house, pack lunches, check the calendar for the next day and lay out all items that need to go with you. These are things like a clipboard of your papers or items for the kids to take to school, maybe even a sticky note with any other reminders or one-off things that you need to prepare. Then for the morning routine, could be tidy up the beds, dishes, etc. as you go, gather lunch items from the fridge, check the calendar or schedule or sticky note to make sure you have what you need, and coordinate with the family members. Having just a basic routine that starts becoming very natural, it's going to give you a lot of relief because then as you rest, you know you've tidied up everything and buttoned it up for the night. And then when you wake up, you know you can just step right into it and you've prepared for that time. So even if you're tired, you didn't sleep well, or there's a lot going on, you've got things just ready and you can just hit it. Now let's talk about processing major life changes. All of us go through changes and all of us have things that are hard. So maybe you do have a loved one who's going through a mental health crisis, or you have a really big family problem that you're trying to manage. Or maybe it's just a new transition where you just had a baby, or maybe you just retired and now life just looks different. So if you're going through those things, I have a few ideas that have been super helpful for me. One is to have a really solid current projects list with the appropriate projects on it. Another is to put a to pray about context on your next actions list. And third is to schedule a worry time. Okay, so I'll explain those briefly. So first, with the current projects list, sometimes we don't think about a life transition as a project. But for example, when I broke my shoulder a few months ago, I actually put on my current projects list physical therapy and heal, because it took a lot of bandwidth for me to be able to get mobility back in my shoulder. Same thing if you just had a baby or just retired. You could put adjust to new schedule as a for me current project, because that's going to give you focus. It's going to help create buffer, and it helps you actually realize that the work that you're doing to learn how to adjust to a new stage of life or to a trauma or accident, it's actually worthy of being called a project. It's real work, okay? All right, next idea, putting it on your next actions list. We have all the categories, like home, phone, computer, things like that. But one of our community members said, I have a to pray about list. That way, when I feel worried about something, I just write it on that. And then when I am sitting and having time to pray, I look at that list to remember all the things that I'm needing help on from my higher power. So whatever your specific spiritual or religious beliefs, there's typically a way that you can take some of those things that you can't control and then have a way to remember that you can access another power to be able to help you to manage those things. And then finally, I heard one day someone recommended to have worry time scheduled. So they had 15 minutes every Wednesday morning at 11 or something like that, and said, okay, Wednesdays at 11, I sit for 15 minutes and I worry. And so that way, whenever they were worrying about something, they thought, oh yeah, I can worry about that. I'll just do it Wednesday at 11. And then they would sit down and just worry then. But sometimes the time would come to worry and they're like, you know, it's not really going to do much good to worry. I'm good. I'll maybe do it next week. And it helped take that time that was otherwise spent just feeling concerned and give it a little spot in the calendar to use or not to use. The final category is distorted thinking patterns about the previous day or the next day. And this is something that I've had a struggle with for a lot of years, and I'm getting better at it, but still working on it. But often we think ahead or think backwards, and it's either fortune telling, mind reading, self-blame, other blame, just things that are distorted. And I learned from Dr. David Burns, author of his newest book, Feeling Great, and the creator of the Feeling Great app, which is so good, that if we can learn to identify our distortions, then we can write down our thoughts, figure out what we're doing, and switch them. So some of the thoughts that our community members shared with me were things like, the weather might be bad, so I can't go on a walk. There isn't enough time. Tomorrow's events are going to completely deplete my energy. I didn't get enough done or use my time efficiently, things like that. And I think that's really common. I often look back and say, oh, why did I say that? That was so dumb. Or, oh, I bet I'm not going to do a good job on this thing tomorrow and I'm just going to look stupid. Or, you know, we do things like that. But the more we can realize that those are distorted thoughts and we can switch them to give ourselves a little bit more grace and more empowerment. And there's lots of exercises that Dr. Burns can walk you through if you want to learn more about that. But I do want to emphasize that when you learn how to control what's happening in your mind, not just by using the new parking spots or, you know, having a great current projects list, but actually learning to dissect your thoughts and figure out how to make them as healthy as possible, it just makes a difference in how well you're able to breathe and relax and sleep. So what's the next step for you? My hope is that you'll take a moment and just write down the kinds of thoughts that are keeping you up at night, and then figure out, are these things that could go onto a calendar, next actions list, projects list, routines list, or are these major changes in life that you actually need to identify as projects, or you need to be able to figure out a good worry time to be able to focus on them? Or do you want to learn some things maybe from Dr. Burns about how to switch some of the distorted thinking that's going on in your life? I hope that you'll feel excited and optimistic and recognize that there's a lot that we can do to control and calm our minds. And I'm so glad that you're here with us. If you want to learn how to build the whole command central and you want to learn more from us about that, please click the link to our free training that's in the description, and we would love to help you out there. We're so glad you're here and hope you enjoy the videos here on the channel. And let me know in the comments how it goes. I'm hoping that you'll sleep really, really well and you'll be really, really excited. All right, see you soon.